behalf of our Supreme Knight Patrick Kelly, your Supreme Board of Directors, and the Fraternal Mission staff. And you know what? Welcome to halftime. Halftime, you say? Well, guess what? We're halfway through our fraternal year. And what does any good team do at halftime? They congregate, they plan, they look at what went right in the game, what went wrong in the game, and then look at how they plan for the second half of the game ahead. And my boss, Mark McMullen, is very proud to say that that's what happened with his team. They were a little behind, they strategized, they worked hard, and lo and behold, they won the Super Bowl. So I know in Canada, we more or less talk about hockey, but football is football, and the Grey Cup is coming. So really what it comes down to is you as leaders, and every one of you are leaders, right? You're not just members of the Knights of Columbus. You've taken on strategic goals, strategic positions within the Team Ontario. And so therefore, you're key to the success of the Ontario State Council this fraternal year. So we can't simply sit by and wait for these members to come to us, right? We can't simply sit back and wait for councils to slowly open or simply pack up and close. That's not what we're about with the Knights of Columbus. When times are tough, that's when the Knights of Columbus really excels. In times of disaster, in times of problem, it's the Knights of Columbus that carries the way. So we need to get out there and we need to be visible. We need to promote ourselves. It's not about bragging. And I hear that a lot. Well, we don't really go on a lot about what we do because we don't like to brag. But it's about survival. If you don't tell people what the Knights of Columbus does, there are lots of people in your church and in your community that heard of the Knights of Columbus, but don't really know what we do. So we have to educate in order to survive. And we're talking about survival, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about growing. And if you don't grow, you're already on the path to demise. So you as MIOs and district deputies are key to making this a successful fraternal year. And we've had some really tough months in preceding months, but it's important that we think about where we go from here. It's no good to look at the past and say, well, I wonder if we could have, we should have. It's all about the next half of our fraternal year. And Circle of Honor is achievable here in Ontario, regardless of what happened in the first half of the year. We're not quite at the first half, at the end of it, but through achievement with growth in online membership, it's reduced your quota a bit. But you know what? In the last month, Ontario's done quite well in recruitment efforts. The numbers are increasing. And it's up to you to really see that we can move this along. So the agenda is a membership update, a critical success ingredient, and we'll talk about the 10 keys to success this fraternal year. So we move on there, okay. So Ontario, it said 142. We're actually up there again, more than that. You can see the numbers there for the different jurisdictions. Canada has actually had a good month in November so far. So a lot of these numbers are skewed now because they're a month old and we've done much better. And let's face it, Canada's had a tougher go in the last couple of years with COVID than the United States has. Like we're in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and 99% of the people in that facility of 2,800 rooms did not wear masks. We're here, we're in shutdowns, we're in various stages of shutdown in our parishes and in our communities, but we're still managing to grow. And Canada did very well last fraternal year during the time of the pandemic. Next slide. So here's a membership update. So performance from, as you can see here, July was good, August was a soft month, September was good, October was better, and November was okay. And you know what, the last week of November probably moved the bar a little bit from okay to maybe pretty good. So next one. So the critical success ingredient is to build one-on-one relationships with as many Grand Knights and council leaders as possible when you go back into the field. If you have a relationship with them, they'll perform for you, okay? Next. So we're going to focus on the why message. So you want to invite people. Don't think of it as recruiting. Think about it as inviting them to become part of what you are, which is part of the largest Catholic fraternal organization in the world, okay? The Knights of Columbus gives them the opportunity to be someone versus simply to do something. You want to be the best they can be, better husbands, better fathers, better Catholics. You want faith in action and leave no neighbor behind. These are key message platforms that were very timely placed and will help you with this journey. And you want to encourage your councils to show Into the Breach and Everyday Hero videos at the different events that you're at, okay? And you want the perfect time to recruit new members, leveraging the beatification of our founder, and certainly the year of St. Joseph. And you want to use the I Am a Knight cards in your recruiting efforts. And your state deputy and his team have come up with QR codes. There's all kinds of ways that we can use to help. And use the I Am a Knight cards in recruiting efforts as well. So next is, what's in it for me? Well, the key to recruitment success is to find out what men are looking for to get out of their membership in the Knights of Columbus. People don't join the Knights of Columbus to pay dues. They don't join the Knights of Columbus to attend meetings. How many of people in this room joined the Knights of Columbus because you really wanted to go to a meeting? I didn't think so. So they joined the Knights of Columbus because they want to do something. They see what you do and what you're about, and they want to be part of that. So give them every chance of success to get there, okay? And number 3, you want to make membership growth an attitude and a team effort. District leaders model an attitude of membership success. And you want to keep councils focused on their agenda. And you want to keep them focused on their goals. You want to hold council leaders accountable for goals achievement. They're not just a volunteer either. They've taken on the leadership role within their council. You want to encourage councils to make membership growth everyone's responsibility. And next. So you want to get all councils recruiting active. That's what's important. If a council hasn't recruited the last 2 years, it's already on a road to demise. That's the sad, simple fact. As people die, as people move away, your key members of your teams shrink. So you have to make this a priority. You have to get them started. You want the momentum to continue on. You want to ensure that all members are working their COVID recovery plans. And if you don't know where it is, you can get it online at the Supreme website. You want to keep communication at a high level. You want to schedule regular monthly calls with council leaders in your district. You want to share your best practices and address issues while they're small before they become big issues. You want to call your Grand Knights close to achieving Star Council to encourage them to get those extra few members in. Your phone call can just be the motivation they need. And it comes down to the slogan for this year for the Ontario Knights, make the call. And before we go on, email versus phone call. What's the easiest way to get in touch with everybody in a quick way? It's email. What's the worst way to find out if they got it and if they understood it and if they're going to do anything about it? Again, it's email. So the old-fashioned phone call, you get the reaction from the person on the other end, you get the commitment from that person to get a deadline and a stop dead date for getting things done. Make the call. So you want to make training a priority. Use your assistant regional training and growth director and myself as RGD. Wayne is a very motivated person. Wayne does not like to sit back and do nothing. So I want you to make him as busy as you can. He loves to talk. He's passionate. He breathes Knights of Columbus. He bleeds Knights of Columbus. And he really wants to work with you either in face-to-face, hybrid, or virtually to work with you, your councils in your district or your territory, whatever it takes to get these trainings done. And we can hit various issues: membership recruitment, engagement, retention, programs, officer roles and responsibilities, how to fill out forms, and financial secretary training is still coming from Supreme. So hopefully somewhere shortly down the road. And you want to promote Supreme webinars and the Canadian training menu. I really want you to look at the Canadian training menu, because we are at a point where we've got 100 topics in our data bank compared to 20 for the United States. So anyway, it's working very well. So you want direct correlation between your state and district and your council leaders and participating in these webinars. Get on them yourself. Don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. Go on these training sessions as well to show them how important they really are. You want faith in action and leave no neighbor behind in all councils. You want to ensure they're implementing the faith in action and the neighbor programs. You want to encourage councils to meet with the pastors as a key first step to determine what programs fit. And, you know, priests are just like everybody else, right? Somebody wants to meet with them, the first thing they're thinking is, okay, what are they looking for? And we as Knights of Columbus want to meet with the priest and say to him, what can we do for you, Father? And that's a pleasant change for Father from what he's used to. And you'll find once he looks at faith in action, and once he looks at what we have, he'll realize the value in there. You want to encourage your councils to really get program active, even if it's a simple project, a program or a project, to get it done. Writing a check is not a project. Writing a check is a task. It's doing a project and presenting that check. That's a project. That's what makes us Knights of Columbus. So you want to turn the clergy and field agents into your best recruiters. There's nothing better when Father stands on the altar and he encourages the women in the congregation to encourage their husbands, their brothers-in-law, their sons to join the Knights of Columbus. Make sure that the priests know about our mission and what we're all about. Don't just assume Father knows what the Knights of Columbus is about. And build strong relationships with your field agents. Your field agents are trained recruiters. They know how to recruit. And if you're not using them, you're really missing the boat. You want to schedule and promote your fraternal benefits nights. Talk to your field agents and they'll go through the GA to get that done. Next. You want to consider developing your own district incentives, maybe, even if it's something simple, right? Just to create a little bit of competition and fun in your district. You want to keep your incentive communication at a high level. You want to use leaderboards to promote competitiveness in your district. And you want to leverage both Supreme and your state incentives to drive growth as well. Next. And online membership. I mean, it's really interesting that, you know, Blessed McGivney started the Knights of Columbus over 100 years ago. And just before a global pandemic hit, our leaders were given the wisdom to start a program called the Online Membership Program and the Faith in Action Program. Those two things are key to survival in a COVID environment. So you want to use your online membership as your preferred path. Why does the Knights of Columbus make it so difficult to join? Guy decides he wants to join the Knights of Columbus in July. Well, we don't meet in the summer, so we'll bring it to the meeting in September. Well, we're going to have to get the admission committee together. So they meet in October. And the admission committee says, okay, we're going to have to talk about it. We'll move to get this guy in, but it's going to be November before the team can actually get together and do something. In the meantime, this guy's joined the Rotary because he went to a lunch on Wednesday at dinner time, and they say, do you like the Rotary? Yeah, well, come back to our next one. That's how simple it is. So if we look at online membership, we can do just the same as they do. So I really encourage you to use online membership. You want to really remember to inspire people And as a leader, your main goal is to inspire and motivate your council leaders to achieve their goals. Next. So with that, this has been a long and difficult, soon to be 2 years. No one is asked to become leaders during a global pandemic or when our beloved church is suffering. However, here we are, and it's up to us to get our order back on track. Think about it as a simple coincidence that our founder, Blessed McGivney, was beatified at a time when there was global pandemic and our church was suffering. Over 100 years later, we're in the same situation and he's been beatified. So we need to really work hard to get where we have to be. And before I forget, Our Ladies, we would be nothing without you. I would be nothing in the Knights of Columbus without my wife. She's inspired me. She's worked very hard and so on. And she's really disappointed she couldn't be here this weekend due to health issues. And she always enjoys her visits here to Ontario. But we're going to ask you to just work and make sure your husbands are on task with this, okay? I'll ask you guys to do that for me. Just make sure that what they learned this weekend, they carry forward. And I know Christmas is coming, but in the new year, they're going to be meeting with their districts and their territories. And I want to make sure that they have that fire that they leave this weekend with. So in closing, I want to thank you for what you do and for the work you do on behalf of Ontario, on behalf of the Knights of Columbus as a whole. As Ontario goes, so does Canada. And I always say if Ontario sneezes, Canada catches pneumonia. That's how serious you are to the health of the Knights of Columbus in Canada. But you're also, as a Division I jurisdiction, very important to the growth of our order as a whole. So on behalf of my wife, Charlene, and I want to thank you. I want to wish you a blessed and Merry Christmas. Stay safe and well. And I really hope on behalf of my team, Denis, Wayne, and myself, that you really stay safe and well. Vivat Jesus, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Paul. There were several messages in there, and one of the messages is about ladies, and we know how important they are. Have you enjoyed supper this evening? Well, there's a group of ladies who have worked behind the scenes to make it such a success. Please give a big hand to Patricia and the staff here at the Sheraton Hotel. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. You'll see them again tomorrow evening, but we wanted to acknowledge them this evening. I wanted to know if we could hear from the folks online. Are there any comments from those online this evening? Not yet. Okay. So I gave you one trivia question earlier. I told you, who the wife of our state deputy was, and they've been married for a while, as most of you have probably been married for quite a while. Well, I have to share with you, Brother Jessamine, how long have you been married? 18 years. 18, that's a while. And you share a lot of things with your better half, right?
Currently, I am right now.
Currently, you are right now. Well, this couple have been married for 45 years, and they shared everything. They go into McDonald's, they buy a hamburger, they cut it in half. She'd get her half, he'd get his half. They buy a milkshake, they'd pour it out. She'd get her half, he'd get his half. A box of fries, they dump it out. You see a trend here, eh? His half, her half. A fella across the restaurant, much like about where the Squires are sitting, would watch this every day. And this day in particular, he couldn't figure it out. He realized something was wrong. So he went over and he talked to this lady. He says, "Ma'am, I know you share everything." He says, "I know about the hamburger, half for him, half for you. I know about the fries, half for him, half for you. I know about the milkshake." But he says, "You're not eating today. You're not eating. What's the problem?" She looked him in the eye, she says, "Sonny, it's not my turn with the tea." All right, so I'm going to give you another trivia question. What's the last name of our state deputy last year? Peters, David Peters. We have a gentleman who's not his brother, but he has exactly the same last name. They don't even look like each other. But he's a wonderful fella. He's been a past state deputy. He's here with us tonight as a director from Supreme. Please help me welcome the one and only Brother Arthur Peters.
Oh. Okay, that's good. Let me just do this. Okay. Yep.
No leaf stuff yet. But just remember, 16-2 in the last 18 games. Just remember that. May it please your excellency, worthy state deputy, worthy state board officers, district deputies, and our ladies. Make no mistake, now is the time for knights. Our Supreme Knight made this statement in his report at our Supreme Convention this year, and indeed, more than ever, society needs each and every member of our order to be active and involved in our communities. Over the past 2 years, it's been the efforts of the Knights of Columbus, its members, and other service and charitable organizations that have been at the forefront, providing food, clothing, and help to the community and our parishes as the pandemic continues to impact our way of life. The Supreme Knight noted that our founder, Blessed Michael McGivney, also lived in a time of difficulty, but forged forward to stand up for families in our faith and establish the order that we are his successors of today. And now we're doing the same. What does it mean to be a knight? By putting our faith into action, we're living our principles of charity, unity, and fraternity. We're bringing the hands of Christ to our communities through the pillars of our Faith in Action program: faith, family, community, and life, and through our Food for Families and COVID recovery programs of the past year. Being a knight means caring for our brothers and sisters in Christ, standing up for life from birth to natural death, and being involved with and supporting our parishes and our clergy. Now, how are we doing this? We're putting warm coats on children this winter. I think over 5,000 coats so far this year have been purchased and are being distributed. We're raking leaves for seniors and those who may need this help. We've sent wheelchairs around the world through our Global Wheelchair Mission program. We've supported vocations to the priesthood through our RSVP program. Council 17397 conducted a bottle drive and raised funds for the St. Vincent de Paul, a hospice, and the Good Shepherd Center. Council 4916 distributed funds or contributed funds to purchase defibrillators for the parishes they serve. Council 14446 has donated funds to the Oakville Fair Share Food Bank to feed families. And Council 16005 purchased a pro-life banner to display at their parish. And so many more examples of how we as Knights are putting our faith into action. In 2020, as an order, we contributed over $150 million in charitable donations and provided more than 47 million hours of volunteer service. And this wouldn't be possible without the contribution of each and every member, their wives, and their families. Pope Francis states, to live charitably means not only looking out for our own interests, but carrying the burdens of the weakest and the poorest among us. And that's what we're doing as Knights of Columbus. We're living the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. And we need to continue to invite all Catholic gentlemen to join our order, to continue this work not only today, but also to be part of what's been done over our history and ensure that it continues in the future, long past our time here. Father McGivney started our order as a way to care for the widows of Catholic gentlemen. And we continue this today through our insurance program, caring for the families of our brother Knights. We now have over $116 billion of insurance in force, and we offer a variety of products, including long-term care. And I believe our agents will tell you that we're one of the few organizations that offers that product now. Indeed. We all know, and we all say, and I know many of us in this room will say that when we hear about our insurance program, there's always the comment that it seems that all we're interested in is selling insurance. But have you ever had to explain to a widow of a member that they didn't have insurance, or that a member had let his membership expire and they no longer had the accidental death policy? And I can tell you all the heads in the back are nodding, well, yes, we've had to do that. I've had to do it too. It's not a pleasant conversation to relay this information to a widow in their time of need. Our agents work tirelessly to invite their brother knights and their families to participate in our insurance program. And now through our fraternal benefits nights, we have a convenient way for families to learn more about how we can provide for their protection and long-term financial peace of mind. This weekend, our district deputies will learn more about the tools available to help them in their councils to continue the success that we've experienced over the past 140 years. Your state team has worked really hard to put these sessions together this weekend, and we're blessed to have the leadership of our state deputy, Marcel Lemon, the state board, and the directors and chairman who worked tirelessly for the success of the order in Ontario, and we thank them for that. Please ensure that these messages you hear this weekend go back to your councils, as Paul mentioned, and that they use this information to help their local efforts to succeed. Now is the time for the Knights. We have a great story to tell and a great future ahead of us. I too want to thank you for all that you're doing for the order and your commitment to the success of the Knights of Columbus. And on behalf of my wife Angie and myself, we want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and let's all hope for a better 2022 and a Stanley Cup for the Leafs. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Arthur. Folks, you've been sitting for a while, so we're going to give you a little bit, I think it's a halftime stretch. We're going to give you a stretch. And before you get up and go for a stretch and come back, we want to remind you that if any new district deputy has not yet taken your photo, Brother Jerry Hayes is going to come looking for you. So a 5-minute stretch, come on back and we'll finish with the rest of the program for this evening. 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Would you take your seats, please? Welcome back. Would you take your seats, please? All right, folks, we're going to get underway. We have a special presentation for you this evening. How many of you have seen the video, A Bridge of Roses? So 2 out of the 120 who are here this evening. Well, have we got a treat for you? This is a special video. But before I ask the video to be played, you know, you've seen some folks who have been working in the background, and these ladies helped you to enjoy supper. There are a couple of gentlemen who have been working very hard to make sure that the 11 participants who are online are involved and are part of this. You know, they don't say a whole lot, but you see them scurrying in the background, you see them turning the laptop when the bishop is ready to go. Would you please acknowledge our Zoom team Brother Dom and Harpreet Benet. So, we hope that you've enjoyed dessert, and we hope that you are ready for this treat. As you know, our state deputy has made this year very significant to Our Lady. That's his thing this year. And so this evening we have a special video that we're going to show you. It's an excerpt from A Bridge of Roses. Without further ado, over to you, Brother Don.
So the story of Our Lady of the Cape is really a lost treasure. It's been lost to history. We might even consider it the greatest story never told.
The answer is nothing short of a miracle. Many, in fact.
Most of us, when we think about Marian apparitions, we think about Our Lady of Guadalupe, we think about Our Lady of Lourdes, and Our Lady of Fatima. Well, I've proposed to you that there's the big four, and Our Lady of the Cape is right up there with those other three. And why is she important? Because her universal title is Queen of the Holy Rosary, the most popular Catholic devotion on planet Earth.
Since 1892, the story of Canada's National Marian Shrine has been documented through the Annals of the Cape. Hundreds of editions of the Annals in the archives recount thousands of favors received through Our Lady of the Cape's intercession. In 1954, editor of the Annals, James Gerard Shaw, created a riveting chronology of the missionaries, miracles, and events attributed to Our Lady of the Cape. Like all of salvation history, God sets the groundwork centuries before his plan is ready to unfold.
Let's think about Jacques Cartier. He was an explorer, of course, who came over from France, and in 1535 he finds himself right in Three Rivers. He plants a cross on one of these islands, and he does this on October 7th, 1535, which prophetically ends up being the Feast of the Holy Rosary 36 years later at the Battle of Lepanto.
When you think at the beginning, very humble beginnings, it was a place of meeting for the native people, for the French arriving from France, and it was a bastion where people would stay here before going on missionary field.
From the beginning of evangelization in this part of the world, the Most Holy Rosary was a powerful tool for missionaries like Jacques Buteau.
For in all the historical records of the time, there is no clearer example of the rosary being used as a means of bringing people to the faith than the story of Father Buteau, the founder of Cap de la Madeleine.
One of Buteau's longtime friends, Sir Pierre Boucher, had been granted a domain by the Jesuits. He called his estate Fief Sainte Marie. He built the first wooden chapel, Sainte Marie Madeleine, which was moved to the present-day site just a few years following construction.
So as we go forward in time, this amazing resident pastor takes over at the Cape, and that was Pastor Paul Vachon. And he establishes the Confraternity of the Most Holy Rosary in 1694 at Cap de la Madeleine.
The Confraternity is the worldwide organization which stabilized the form of Mary's great devotion and gave us the rosary we have today. You sign your name and promise to say the rosary once a week.
You have to think that Father Vachon wrote to Rome, the Dominican, to receive the establishment of the Confraternity of the Holy Rosary. If you become part of the confraternity, you become linked to the prayers to the Rosary said all over the world.
Signed by the Master General of the Dominicans at that time and countersigned by the local bishop, the centuries-old document is still preserved in the archives of the shrine as one of its most precious records.
One of the most important contributions that Pastor Paul Vachon makes at the Cape is the building of the stone chapel that would eventually become the shrine of the Holy Rosary.
In 1714, Bishop St. Vallier commissioned the construction of a stone chapel to replace the wooden one built by Boucher some 50 years earlier. In an effort to link the past to the present, the contract specified that the beams from the original wooden structure were to be used in the new stone building.
And interestingly enough, it is the oldest stone chapel in North America where daily Mass is still said to this day. When Pastor Paul Vachon died, the faith literally died with him. In fact, at one point, they even petitioned to ask if the sanctuary lamp could be extinguished.
In 1854, despite a century without a pastor, the little parish of Sainte Marie Madeleine receives a gift that would mark a dramatic turning point in the history of the Cape. A parishioner by the name of Zephyrin Dorval donates a statue of the Blessed Mother fashioned after Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception as she appeared to Catherine Labouré in Paris, more popularly known as the Miraculous Medal.
And it's significant because it was actually 1854, which was the actual proclamation of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception by Pope Pius IX.
It's a statue of Mary with her hand opened, looking down. She's pregnant and she's walking on a snake. So it's a traditional image of having victory over evil.
The statue would soon become the center of something miraculous. After 115 years in the darkness, Our Lady of the Cape was about to reignite the sanctuary lamp.
You know, even when death comes, God can bring new life, even in the midst of the dry bones, as we read in Scripture. And look who comes on this scene, this diocesan parish priest by the name of Father Luc Desilets.
Father Luc Desilets was a man of dream. He was a man of vision. He had such a huge drive, an inner drive, a spiritual drive. And he arrived in a very small church, and nobody was there. There was nothing going on.
Father Luc heads over to the chapel. He is discouraged. He just needs to pour his heart out. As he goes through the doors, he hears a scuffling noise on the confraternity side of the altar.
It was a great, dirty, snorting pig scrambling on the step of the confraternity altar. In the pig's ugly snout was a rosary, which it was chewing and dragging all over the floor.
The thought leaps to his mind, the pigs have picked up the rosary, the people have dropped the rosary, the people have dropped their faith, they've lost their faith.
I fell to my knees in prayer. To Mary, my mother, I make this solemn vow to dedicate my life to spreading the confraternity and recitation of the Most Holy Rosary.
So Father Luc makes this vow. In fact, he makes it his life mission that wherever his voice is heard, he would begin enrolling people in the confraternity.
So for him, it was, instead of being a discouragement, it was a call for something else.
And if you can imagine, over the next 5 years, he actually registers 3,000 souls in the Confraternity of the Most Holy Rosary. It is the defining moment of the Cape, and it is the day that the shrine was birthed.
Many remarkable cures and favors are attributed through the intercession of Our Lady of the Rosary at Cap de la Madeleine during that time, including the first detailed account of a cure before the newly installed statue.
One of the things that Father Luc Disselet did, along with making that vow, was also to reinstate the practice of the blessing of the roses on the confraternity altar.
Through the power of the Holy Cross, pour out upon them your heavenly blessing.
He would take a Dominican form of prayer, he would bless the roses, and he would distribute these rose petals. And incredibly, people started receiving favors. And this created just an influx of pilgrims coming to the Cape on an ongoing basis in thanksgiving, to pray, to ask Our Lady's intercession.
The little church, once abandoned by parishioners, now can't contain the hundreds of faithful who come to her for the sacraments. With permission from the bishop, Father Luc Disselet and his new associate, Father Louis Eugene Duguay, begin planning the construction of a new stone church.
The challenge was that there was no big stones around here in Trois-Rivières. You had to get those stones on the other side of the Saint-Laurent River at Saint-Angèle.
By the winter of 1878, enough stone had been prepared and was ready for transportation across the St. Lawrence River. The only practical way to do this was a roadway of ice.
Unfortunately, it was a mild winter, no ice bridge, no ice, no bringing stones over. It almost looked like a lost cause. Now, Father Luc makes another vow. Mother Mary, if you give me a miracle of an ice bridge, I will not tear down this stone chapel to build the bigger church, but rather I will leave it as a shrine dedicated to you under the title of Queen of the Holy Rosary.
He didn't get discouraged. He didn't want to wait a whole year for the river again to freeze the next winter. So he made the promises to Mary, Mother of God.
Father Luc added that the parish would offer a special high mass in honor of St. Joseph if there was ice by March 19th, his feast day.
And he started to ask the people to pray, 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 pray for the river to freeze. Nothing happened. January, February, March. And when you're arriving in March and the river is not frozen, it's going to be hard.
It was the Vigil of St. Joseph. Father Duguay had started out with a group of men under the leadership of Firmin Cadotte and Flavien Barassa. Father Duguay remembers the words of Father Luc that evening, who was in his sickbed.
There were just a few of us that went down to the river that night. Father Luc had asked the parishioners to pray for a bridge of ice to form over the St. Lawrence, so as to be able to bring the building stones needed for the new church. We would need a miracle. I kept pushing my cane through the snow. I could feel the rushing current of the river. Firmin Cadotte led the way. He crawled forward, feeling with his hand for a patch of ice that could take the weight of his knee. The three of us, we were crawling on that ice as water was passing underneath us. God only knew if we would reach the other side.
30 men worked with the light of torches flooding that fragile diagonal passage without one of them so much as wetting a foot.
It wasn't a bridge of ice holding us up. It was a bridge of rosaries. 175 sleighs filled with stones crossed that bridge. We had witnessed a miracle.
On the Feast of the Holy Rosary 1880, the new stone church of Sainte Marie Madeleine was dedicated. And while the church was replaced by the present-day basilica, one can still see its original stones embedded in the walls of the annex of the small shrine. On the Feast of the Archangels, September 29, 1881, a prominent Franciscan from the Holy Land named Father Frederick Jansoon came to meet a man he had heard so much about, Father Luc de Salais. Their newfound friendship would launch what would be the most profound chapter at the Cape. Father de Salais, in a letter to Jansoon's superiors in Rome, writes, "In Father Frederick, you have sent us both a saint and a priest of extraordinary power."
In 1881, the two men met here in the Cap de la Madeleine, and it was wow, an encounter. They had the same vision, the same energy, the same zeal for the proclamation of the gospel.
This new fervor, combined with the miracle of the ice bridge, saw a steady stream of pilgrims coming to the Cape. Now the time had come for the formal fulfillment of Father de Salais' vow to dedicate the little church to Our Lady of the Rosary.
So we get to June 22nd, 1888, and it is the dedication of the shrine to Queen of the Most Holy Rosary.
In years to come, this will be the shrine of Mary.
In spite of all that has happened at the Cape, Father de Salais still wondered if it were not presumptuous of him to think Our Lady had picked his little parish out of all of North America as a place of special favor.
I went into the shrine about 7 o'clock, accompanied by Father Desilets and Father Frederick. I was walking, supported by them. We went to place ourselves at the communion rail. The priests were kneeling and I was seated behind them, for I could not take any other position because of my infirmity. After praying for a while, I looked up at the statue of the Blessed Virgin in front of me.
Suddenly her face became animated. Her eyes, usually downcast, are open, looking straight out over the horizon. Her face was clearly visible, illuminated by the sun, which, shining through one of the windows, filled the whole shrine with light. The Virgin's expression was that of a living person. At that point, Pierre Lacroix summoned up enough courage to say, "I've been seeing it too, for several minutes."
Father Luc's prayer had been answered in a way only the Blessed Mother could have arranged. She did not say a word. The message was the messenger herself. Just 9 weeks later, on August 30th, 1888, Father Luc died suddenly in his brother's home at Three Rivers. At the actual moment of his death, Father Frederick was kneeling before the statue of Our Lady of the Cape in the new shrine. As he looked up, he saw tears run down her cheeks. Good Father Frederick became the pilgrimage director at the Cape and continued with his healing ministry. One such favor came to a nun by the name of Marie Leonie Paradis, foundress of the Little Sisters of the Holy Family. In his role as pilgrimage director, Good Father Frederick was now welcoming 40,000 faithful from across the land who were making pilgrimages to the miraculous site, soon to be under the new guardians of the shrine, the Oblates of Mary Immaculate. The year 1904 marked the golden jubilee of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception, and the Cape was about to become the center of national celebration. Sister Marie Leonie Paradis, whose community was serving the Oblates of Cap de la Madeleine at the time, would witness this glorious solemnity.
By virtue of a decree issued by Pope Pius X, Monsignor Cloutier crowned the miraculous statue on October 12, 1904 at Cap de la Madeleine.
It really put that seal that, you know what, I'm queen of not only Canada, but queen of the planet, under the title of Queen of the Most Holy Rosary. And I want from this place to go out throughout the world, devotion to my Immaculate Heart, devotion to my Son in his Sacred Heart.
The golden crown with its precious gems around its base was a gift of the Irish settlers in Montreal. The golden heart with precious stones was a gift from 500 Franciscan pilgrims. On June 22, 1947, the Dominion of Canada was first consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary at a Marian Congress held in Ottawa, the nation's capital. It was deemed to be the crowning act of the Congress by Venerable Pope Pius XII. The consecration fell on the same date as the dedication of the shrine back in 1888. Ottawa Archbishop Alexander Vachon, a descendant of Father Paul Vachon, presides over the Congress. Even the future Prime Minister of Canada, Louis Saint Laurent, was in attendance. He recited the words of the consecration prayer for the Congress as written by Pope Pius XII.
Even though it took place here in Ottawa in June, it actually started in Cap de Madeleine on May 1st of the same year. They made an exact replica of the miraculous statue of Our Lady of the Cape and began to process her here from Cap de la Madeleine to Three Rivers, to Montreal, and finally to Ottawa, and of course all of the towns and villages in between. Literally millions of people came and venerated this statue and also gave their hearts to Jesus through Mary.
After an extensive tour through Canada and various parts of the USA, Our Lady of the Cape would be canonically crowned for a second time in 1954. Today, the pilgrim statue is installed at Blessed Sacrament Church in Ottawa, just a few blocks away from the site of the 1947 Congress. There, she welcomes pilgrims from all over Canada and the world.
All the history is wrapped up in this one place.
It's amazing because a lot of saints came here before us. The Canadian martyrs, Saint Jean de Brébeuf, Blessed Father Frédéric, Blessed Marie Léonie Paradis, Saint Jean Paul II. He was here in 1984. Saints have been here, and there will be other saints coming in. And if you become a saint, we will say that you have been here at the shrine and you made a movie about it, you know?
This little house of God will be too small to contain the crowd that will come to invoke the power and the bounty of the sweet Virgin of the Most Holy Rosary.
in that video? There's one. There's another one I heard over there. Number 2. I haven't heard the saint I'm looking for though. Close. Yes, I just heard it. I heard Saint Joseph. That's the saint I've been looking for. And the reason for mentioning that is I remember hearing about the icon and I thought, oh, it's only a quarter big. Why was I wrong? And so tonight we have a copy. We have one of 13 icons from St. Joseph that we wanted to give you a sneak preview. Some of you have seen it before, but for those of you who haven't, you have an opportunity to share one of the 13 icons that the saint has. We're going to ask you to see Brother Joseph Remedios somewhere between 8 and 12 in the middle room, and you too would be able to share one of these icons within your district. Anything to add, Brother Joseph?
Thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Flip the camera. Oh. Once more, please. Could you come on back? So for our folks who are watching, can you come on up and just show them the icon, please? And it's heavy. It takes 2 of you to lift that.
The big precious about it.
Show it here so that you can see it on the screen. There we go. All right, so that's for our 11 brothers watching at home. Thank you. Thank you. So we're almost at the end, but you know, my wife Francine of 36 years couldn't come tonight, and she always says, pay attention, or attention to detail. Who could tell me which table tonight I missed? I went around very discreetly and I got, you know, come on out, and I thought I had them all. I'm embarrassed to tell you I missed one. 22. The table in the corner, I owe a public apology to Brother Narciso and Brother Denny. And you know, those guys sign off on a lot of things, so sorry about that. Also want to share with you that today was a very special day. And if you got here fairly late in the afternoon, you missed the wonderful thing that Lady Charlene put on. The ladies got a chance to talk about guide dogs. So that's happened today. And thank you, Lady Charlene, for doing that. We were treated to a wonderful training session with the MIOs. Jerry led that. And thank you, Your Excellency, for a very touching holy hour. It started on time. Very nice. Tomorrow we're going to start on time. 6:45 for breakfast. 6:45. You don't have to come at 6:45, but that's when the best food is.
Zoom, this is from District Deputy number 55, Wayne Castanet. Is there a schedule for when each district will get the icon?
Brother Joseph Remedios, is there a schedule? The answer is yes. Brother Joseph has that schedule, but you're invited to contribute to that by offering to help. So Brother Joseph, a question on the Zoom chat, the schedule to various districts, you have that schedule? So Brother Wayne Cascanet, thank you for asking that question. And Brother Joseph has got it well in hand.
And we also have a follow-up comment from Leslie, if you don't mind.
Please.
So mentioned the icon will be available to each council for 2 weeks. If that is the case, for example, Territory 9 has 46 councils. That means it will be traveling for over a year. Is this really the case? In previous years, the icon was available for 2 weeks for each district, not council. Please confirm.
So the answer is, yeah? 1 week in each council is the answer from Brother Joseph.
All right, so.
Any further questions from the chat? That's it?
Thank you for the response.
Okay. So thank you very much for coming this evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 6:45 for breakfast if you wish. But you know what? We'll start promptly at 7:45. We're starting, all you DDs, get lots of sleep, sleep fast, because at 7:45, we'll be starting promptly. Our state deputy, make sure that I'm on task with that. But you know, we talked about the day today. This is the formal portion. This is the formal portion, and it's over. You know, the tradition here at the Knights is that there's a lot of socializing, and for 2 years we haven't been able to do it. So the ladies, under the guidance of Brother Henry, our state warden, have got the hospitality room in Northern Spa. It's not that far away. You're welcome to mix and mingle and enjoy each other's company in a more relaxed setting. State Deputy, have I missed anything? That concludes this evening. Have yourselves a restful night, because tomorrow, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be very busy. Good night, everybody.